This is the Rookie Big Board Rookie Profile Series. I'm your host, Matt Higgs, the FF Educator, joined as always by John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar. This is the Bucky Irving Rookie Profile. Bucky Irving, he flew under the radar, spent the first couple years of his college career at Minnesota, transfers over to Oregon, and then in his final season with the Ducks, as they were playing at a national stage very consistently, Bucky Irving just really popped out watching him live. And as we're going to talk about here with his stats, with his film breakdown, he just keeps popping out. I can't get him out of my head, John. And it seems like there's a lot of fantasy football folks that agree. And in a relatively down running back class, he's in the conversation as a top 5 running back, and even higher, I know, for some fantasy analysts out there whose opinion I certainly respect. So I'm excited to get more into it. If you are listening, make sure that you are subscribed. The listen download numbers have been outstanding, historic levels for the first few weeks of Rookie Profile. So we appreciate you. We have many, many more Rookie Profiles coming your way. And if you're watching on YouTube, give the video a like, drop a comment for us. Let us know what you think about Bucky Irving, or just ask any question about it. It really helps us get more eyes on the video. With that being said, John, Bucky Irving, very popular in the fantasy football community. Let's talk about why.
I am all in, Matt. He is my number 3 running back for fantasy purposes right now. As I was watching Bo Nix and Troy Franklin, and then even Tez Johnson, the other wide receiver at Oregon this year, I could not help but notice how good Bucky Irving is as a running back. He's in this unique bucket of Ducks runners, LaMichael James, Kenjon Barner, and DeAnthony Thomas, all kind of a little undersized, but incredibly explosive, Matt, with the ball in their hands. But Bucky Irving's better than all 3 of those. None of the aforementioned running backs really made it at the NFL level. But James is a little bigger, and he's a better runner between the tackles. In high school, he was a 4-star recruit who was number 9 running back in the nation, just under that top 5 threshold that everyone talks about. You mentioned it. In 2021, as a true freshman, he played at Minnesota. He had 133 rushing attempts for 699 yards and 8 catches for 73 yards while scoring 4 times as a true freshman. He led the Golden Gophers in all-purpose yards with 966. Matt, that's fantastic for a true freshman.
Yeah.
2020, it is. It's unbelievable. In 2022, he left Minnesota and he moves north or west to Oregon. He earned first-team All-Pac-12 by PFF, and he was the Holiday Bowl offensive MVP. In that game, he had 149 rushing yards and 2 scores on only 13 carries. He ended up finishing the season with over 1,000 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. He also added 31 receptions for 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. And last year, Matt, he was even better. He was second-team All-Pac-12. In 14 games, he carried the ball a career-best 186 times for a career-high 1,180 yards, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. He also snatched 56 passes for 413 yards, and he scored 13 total touchdowns. He enters the NFL after logging back-to-back 1,000-yard crusades at Oregon. And Matt, he's one of the younger running backs in this class. He is a high school graduate of 2021. Matt, what's your film study say about Bucky Irving?
When it comes to Bucky Irving, it's easy to see why folks are getting excited about it. And I do think it starts with his speed, right? But it's more than just being fast. He's quick. He's quick off the snap, and he carries that speed well into the second level of the field. He moves east to west well. He's got good lateral agility, and he's explosive moving through his cuts. And so it helps him kind of carry that momentum, that speed off the snap downfield. And as a runner, he's shifty. He navigates with ease. That shifty running style, it's hard not to get excited about it when you see it. And then he's not the biggest running back, certainly, but he's slippery. He's hard to bring down. And so even when Oregon is playing some of their more tougher defensive fronts this year, it oftentimes will take a second effort, an extra guy, a third level of contact to be able to get Bucky Irving to the ground and kind of take that play down. So it's good contact balance. It's a slippery running style. It's not a physically dominant running style. And so I know some folks will get caught up with what that combine height weight looks like. I think there's an opportunity for Bucky Irving still to translate well to the NFL, despite the fact that I don't think he's going to, have the highest weigh in, or, he's not going to be the running back that would do the most reps on the bench press, right? But there's still a level of contact balance and physicality to his game, even without that. In terms of vision, that checks a big box for me. When I see Bucky Irving on the field, I see a decisive runner. He's going to be able to see a gap presented to him and hit that gap well. But I will say my limitation here and my concern with Bucky Irving is he's more decisive and more effective working B gap, C gap. I think you are going to have to scheme him, more towards off tackle in the NFL. He will struggle with the A gap. And I think it's not a problem of being decisive. He's almost overly decisive when he's running in between the tackles. He gets the ball and he goes straight up the middle. He just wants to attack that. And as he kind of gets more into the B and C gaps, I think he's more comfortable working in space. He feels more confident, and he's able to kind of use that shifty running style that we talked about earlier a little bit more. Where the real fantasy football bump comes from, tying all of those 5 traits we've just talked about, tying those things into his pass catching ability. He's got reliable hands, and he's more than just a check down target. So, he caught passes in the flat, but they extended him into the short field. They extended him and targeted him into the midfield even. And even after the catch, legitimate yak threat, legitimate yards after catch runner here. So he's going to be elusive. He's going to churn for those extra yards. And so I think, especially if you're playing in full PPR leagues, that's going to bump Bucky Irving up a little bit in your draft, or at least it should, in terms of him being a priority target. So you have speed, you have explosiveness, you have athleticism, you have vision, you have pass catching. He's not the best running back ever at any of those things, but he's strong enough at all of those things to be a legitimate, fantasy football impact player. So Bucky Irving overall passes the test, John, just like the resources available at patreon.com/rookieBigBoard. You want to get in there, if nothing else, to get in on the Discord, the Trade Talk channel, the roster advice channel, the On the Clock draft advice channel. We're overhauling, we're rebuilding rosters 24/7. Giving that expert insight, advice, and analysis on top of the rookie rankings, on top of the rookie guide, on top of one-on-one rookie draft consolations. There's so many great resources available for you. They are all 15% off now with an annual membership. Head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard to get ahead of your league mates. All right, that's the film breakdown. We've talked background. Let's talk stats.
I think everyone has to get comfortable with this size also, Matt. He's 5'10", 190. And we've mentioned it, I do prefer my big backs. But the NFL is tweaking the run game and what they're looking for in backs. Not every team. There's still going to be big teams or teams that want their big, strong backs. But Bucky Irving has a role in the NFL, in my question, no doubt about it. I hope he ends up in an outside zone scheme. You mentioned it. He just runs right at. Now, he's pretty good, actually, at the A gap, but it's literally almost no vision. Just let me attack the A gap. His vision is better on the outside. So if you get him on that outside zone run scheme, I think he could be really deadly. And I'm okay with the weight. I'm not going to ding him at this level, especially after what we saw Devin Achane do last year. So I am comfortable at 190. And when I plugged him into my model, Matt, the first thing where the light bulb went off was the 92 career receptions. Now, you mentioned it. He does have a lot of quick flares, a lot of dump-off passes, and maybe where he sneaks out of the backfield. I'm hoping that we see him run a few more patterns at the combine because it's just not a lot of that on tape. But man, you put him out of the backfield in space or one-on-one, and Matt, he is a problem out there in speed. I do like a threshold of 25% for my scrimmage yards dominator, but at Oregon, they used a rotation of back, so it's not like he was going to dominate every touch. Plus, Bo Nix ran the ball, so you have other players in here. So 21% is pretty good. That PFF run of 10 plus, 31 carries over 10 plus yards. Matt, Bucky Irving may be one of those fantasy backs who are uber efficient with 15 touches every game. What should fantasy footballers know about Bucky Irving, Matt?
All right, let's put it all together. Let's talk about that fantasy football translation to help you contextualize Bucky Irving in terms of your rookie drafts here, starting with the coveted NFL draft capital. For me, Bucky Irving is an early day 3 selection, probably round 4. I think he'll hear his name pretty early on in that 4th round. He could slip into the back end of round 3. I could see that as a possibility, but we've talked about this with our earlier running back rookie profile episodes. Don't get caught up on it. An early day 3 selection relative to this class, it's going to be still pretty good. It's not an eliminating factor. I know there's a lot of folks, they see day 3, they get scared. Don't worry about it. I think he's going to have perfectly fine draft capital. We've seen year over year over year, right, that this idea of after day 2, running backs are useless, right? That's obviously not true. We've seen that proved over time. And I think Bucky Irving could be another good example of it. In terms of his ADP projection, I have him at 208 to 212, and that's where he's going to fall, in an average setting. I could see Bucky Irving going, more in the 204 spot if there's somebody in your league who really likes him, or maybe your league is a little bit sleeping on him and he falls into the 3rd round. But I think back end of the 2nd is going to be a pretty common spot for him. We're probably going to see from the 1-2 turn a big wide receiver run. And then, we'll probably get Jatavian Sanders in there. We'll get a little tight end action and, maybe an early, day 2 quarterback goes. And so I think that this is where running backs are going to start to go on a big run in most rookie drafts, this back end of the 2nd. And for me, my fantasy football value comparison to him is Chuba Hubbard. And the reason that I drew this specific comparison is there's been points in time where Chuba Hubbard has not been fantasy relevant because he has not been getting the volume. But doesn't he always seem to pop back up, John? That relevance always comes there. Even in a season where he should have been buried by Miles Sanders in terms of contract, he ended up being the lead back on the team. And you talked about efficiency. So when Chuba Hubbard isn't the lead back, he's very efficient. He's a good kind of flex level player. But when he gets the shot to be the dude, then, he really contributes at a high level for your fantasy football roster. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing from how Bucky Irving's career could lay out. I think he starts as in my flex filler tier, right, which is a running back 3 type guy. If you have 3 spots on your team or you put him in a flex spot, as injuries pile up, he becomes a critical part of your team. But he has that opportunity in the right spot with volume. He could be a weekly, running back 10, a running back 12. I don't know that he'll ever be the running back 1 overall, but there's enough upside. There's enough pop here where if he gets volume, he can definitely be an impact guy. So I think a pretty strong target at the back end of the 2nd round. But John, no stronger target for you if you're trying to win your rookie drafts than to get in on the awesome resources available over at patreon.com/rookieeboard. Get in on the rookie guide, the rookie rankings, the Discord, the one-on-one draft consolation calls. Get ahead of your league mates with the rookie big board. We appreciate you checking out this rookie profile.